So listen, Amber, we were sitting over here chatting,
Yes.
and we were chatting about, and what I was trying to explain to her is how I came into this knowledge and understanding, like this red pill knowledge and understanding. And when I say red pill, you don't know what that means.
Was it take the red pill or the blue pill?
Nice.
Who am I? Morpheus.
You're Morpheus. And if the red pill was in this hand right here, I took that at a period of time of my life. I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And the thing is, I'm 34 years old right now, so it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Here's what happened. And I feel like it would be good to go over a very short story as to kind of how that happened. Because you asked me,
Yes.
this is, we just did a video on marriage and benefits of marriage. She was like, I didn't know you were that jaded.
Yeah.
So the thing is like, when I think about like the red pill, it was like in understanding components of human nature that I had no idea about. Because I think like you and me and knowing you, you are a high integrity person. Mm-hmm. I consider myself a high integrity person because I've had people in my life to try to establish right from wrong. You've had a family in your life to establish right from wrong. Yeah. I think we take for granted sometimes that folks, there's some people that don't have that. And we also take for granted sometimes mental illness. We take for granted sometimes PTSD, right? And different components of people that make up how they walk, talk, move, and act, mm-hmm. right? So, quick short story. I'm gonna make it really quick. I was in a relationship. I was 19-ish years old, 20-ish years old. College. I was in college. I was dating a young woman in a relationship for, I want to say it was about a year and change, like maybe like a year and a half or so. A year into it, and no complaints over the first year. No complaints. A year into it, she told me she had cancer. And the relationship after that started to move and shift from then. And I felt like as a young man who thought that I really liked this young woman, that I was going to try to do the things that I needed to try to help support her during this very traumatic and critical time in her life. Which, one of the good things that I ended up doing, which changed the path of my career, was I got a job at Bank of America as a call center rep in order to attain extra income to help me and her out. So I went and I did that, and I actually changed, because my first job at an undergrad was at a credit card corporate headquarters at JP Morgan Chase, which changed my career. Because I'll tell you what, like I wasn't like the super best student, right? Like I had a okay GPA, and I was in no school activities. I was in a fraternity, but that was really it. But anyway, about let's say a couple of months after it all, after she told me that she had ovarian cancer, meaning that she couldn't have kids or sexual interactions with me.
What?
I ended up finding out that, and I won't get into the entire story, that she was a whore. During... Fuck you laughing at? I'm still healing.
It's 15 years later. Yeah. So I need that Band-Aid to be ripped.
Go ahead.
Off.
You can laugh. But I ended up finding out that she was a Pop-Tart. And I'm talking about previous to the relationship, where she had told me that, she was a nice girl. And during the time after that she told me she had cancer, she was doing the things that she said she couldn't do with me, with a lot of other people. And had constructed life in a way where it wasn't easy for me to find these things out, because she was providing a gap in me communicating with these very people. I won't get into it. Long story short.
Was anybody you knew?
Yes. Acquaintances.
Low down.
Yeah. It was disgusting, like a disgusting woman. And I feel like the thing is my idea of what human nature and people are at that time was very different. And it was like when that happened, I started to begin to understand components of nature. And I actually think with hers, it's not so much female nature as it is mental illness. I sincerely believe that there's something, whether it's sociopathic or something, which devoids her from normal, basic human interaction.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went through a metamorphosis at that time, and that was before like all this content on the internet was available. And what I started to engage in, after that relationship ended, which of course it ended right then and there, was probably a little bit of destructive behavior,
on your
both mentally and physically. So mentally, I didn't trust anybody at that time, nobody, because I felt like everyone in my general vicinity had the opportunity to do what she did in whatever capacity that they could do it, right? Like I would just assume everyone around me is a liar, a cheater, a thief, and is ready to steal shit from you. And then physically, I was humping everything that moved. And the thing is like, and within that, it started to back up my idea of what I was saying, because some of the things that some of the situation I was walking into would have a picture of their boyfriend right on the head, the nightstand, right? So I began to understand and unveil, like, oh wow, I didn't know the earth was like this.
So you are getting yourselves into situations that reinforced your previous thoughts.
Yeah.
And then it's all cyclical. Like, of course the world is shit because look what's going on. And of course.
Yeah. So they have a term for that now, and that's called red pill rage, because it's the moment that you understand that not everyone probably has the purest intentions of you, and that people can be selfish if given enough opportunity. If you give someone enough power, they may corrupt with that power. And it's like some of the things that I talk about on this channel is not putting someone too much on a pedestal, not over validating people, because if you give someone too much leash, they will hang you with it most of the time. Or at least that was my thinking at the time. I think that I've come around the corner and have a little bit better understanding. I think it's a balance. I think if I consume too much of that red pill, I'd be a hateful person, a cup half full, half empty person through the entirety of the remainder of my life. And I think through, and I probably should have got therapy at the time, but I just think through my own self-observations, my own self-healing, I finally came to a place where I'm a little bit more balanced. But I still understand that people have the capacity of not being shit. I still understand that. Right, so like when I think about something that locks two human beings together, and as much as a tumultuous decision as that is, because you are locking two human beings together, which is why I go over decisions like that in my life with a fine-tooth comb, because I had an experience with someone where literally I had no idea that they had that capacity.
Yeah.
And I think some people get lucky. Some people get lucky is that you might find two high integrity people together, and it may work out, and at least if they get married, it'll work out for a couple of years, and then they'll get divorced 50% of the time. That's numbers. I didn't make that up. Okay.
So you, though, it seems like you're basically living your life waiting, at least when it comes to a relationship, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that's not fair to you or the other person that you're with.
Like waiting for her to mess up, is that what you mean?
And then for you to get that reaffirming, of course you're doing this because everybody does this. And I already knew it was going to happen. And so I never gave you my whole self so that I can protect myself. And I knew you were going to fuck up, and now you did. And I can just be done with it. Versus, I'm not saying to like just give yourself fully to somebody, but I don't live my life with Brian, waiting for him for that, like, the fuck up to happen and me to be like, great, now I can just pack my bags. I knew all this. Like, that's not a fun way to live.
Well, because I'm not waiting, I don't let you get close enough
to even wait for it.
And so, but the thing is that my life, when I don't let women get close enough, is still fantastic. Like, I still have a lot of fun. And that's the thing is, but at the same time, I still think about because I don't want to do it until I'm 50. Like, I don't.
Yeah, do you eventually want to, like, be in either a marriage or a long-term relationship? Like, is a monogamous?
I think marriage, if I look at the objective numbers, No. Relationship, I think it's most guys' ideal that they can find a female partner that is a ride or die. That is a unicorn, white tiger, blue lobster. However, the diamond in the rough.
Yes.
I mean, that's. I mean, because we're tribal people. We like unity. We like being together. But I think that, looking at Instagram, looking at Twitter, looking at your parents, looking at your uncles and aunties, if you grew up in, a family where, you got to see the fights, you got to see the struggles, you saw the bad times, the good times, what have you. So, but then you also grew up next to Disney, watching Disney, and there are these kind of altruistic ideals of fairy tale happy endings, right? Like, so we have all of these summaries and conclusions of what we think that unity might be, but then we still get to that 50% number. And the thing is like what I experienced in my past, I want to do my due diligence to make sure that it is not something that's worse in the future. Because let me conclude the story. Had not seen or talked to this woman. I had a mutual friend become accidentally friends with her now husband, who she has 3 kids with. Mind you, she told me she had ovarian cancer, so she couldn't have kids. So, and essentially, they've been married, and she came up. She got what she wanted because she doesn't work, and he's a multimillionaire. So she scammed her way into a situation. But come to find out that the married man recently found out that she has a boyfriend, and she has 3 kids. One of those kids don't look anything like the married man, right? So like these situations, and I feel for him because that could have been me. That could have been me because I didn't understand the things that I know, love, and understand now about nature.
Her nature. I don't think it's fair to say
Talk to me.
Nature, and because then it's almost like these are the characteristics and typical actions of women, and then it's put on my shoulders, and those are things I would never fucking do.
I feel you.
So it seems as though you are whitewashing, all of these, or extrapolating from this one instance, and applying that as what will happen, or things that are indicative of every woman, and that's not the case. Like, leave this as an isolated incident. Especially she had ovarian cancer. She's like potentially clinically insane.
Yeah.
So these are things that happened.
Yeah.
Take what you learned from it, be able to apply that knowledge, that growth, that understanding to different situations, but don't go into situations assuming that that this is just the nature of the beast and that this is typical or something, because that's not the case.
Well, I think what's happened is, yes, I did that, but in assuming that, all of them are like that. Mm-hmm. But then once I got out of this, remember Neo was in the Matrix, so he had the blue pill. Once I got up outside the Matrix, and I got the ideas of this fairy tale, happily ever after, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, 2-car garage, and then I'm like, oh, this is fun. This provides me a lot of happiness if I am selfish and hone in on myself, build myself up, make myself as flexible as possible because I don't have a partner near me to have in tow. You know what I mean? Not have kids early, so I'm not, dishing out additional expenses. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, and I have the flexibility, right? So like financially, I gotta, so. But the only thing is, I think about later on in life, because not only like right now in life, I appreciate my Saturday mornings and my Sunday mornings more than my Friday nights and my Saturday nights. Like I appreciate more in life now being able to wake up early and get some work done as opposed to stay up late on a Friday night or a Saturday night.
Yeah, okay.
So with that switch and transition, like is a switch in, really valuing kind of the faster lifestyle that I led in my 20s versus, a little bit more of a modest lifestyle in my 30s, but much more fulfilling. So I still think like it would be good to come across a white tiger at some point to kind of share within. I don't even know if share. I don't know if that's the right word because I still want to do my own thing. I don't know if it's the right word.
But okay, so have you ever seen Why Did I Get Married?
Who's in it?
Tyler Perry.
No. I'm so sorry.
It's a good film.
It's a good film.
Would we say good? It's an entertaining film.
Okay. Let's
turn on TBS,
Got it.
It's continuously on there. Anyways, Tyler Perry's character says to his wife after they've been going through this difficult time, and she ended up doing some things without consulting him, and he says, when you get married, you give up your eyes for an us. And I think in a lot of regards, that is the truth. On these big decisions, it can't just be about you, because the decisions that you make affect these other people that you have chosen to build your life with. But not always. There are some things that just are very important to me, very important to Brian, that's when you figure out how to make it work. So you saying that you're selfish and, or there are things you don't want to have to ask her about first or whatever it is. I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. You don't just get into the relationship and now before I make any decision, I must ask Brian. Mm-hmm. Or I can't do that because that would be fun for me and Brian wouldn't want to. Like, that's not the case.
Brian's her husband, by the way.
Sorry, yes, Brian is my husband.
Go ahead.
We'll be at 5 years.
You forgot to show you.
This is what Brian gave me.
She's like, what's on my hand? Your ring. This here. Your ring, lady.
I don't like, do I need to get up? No, it's on autofocus, so you guys won't be able to see the true.
Not.
But whatever. Like, one thing, Brian loves jujitsu.
He does. He's trying to get me to come out there. I don't want him to choke me.
He will absolutely choke you. It's fun for him. So Saturday mornings, like, I make the assumption that he's going to jujitsu, and so I don't have Saturday mornings to do what I want to do because I got to take care of the kids. Mm-hmm. And that is mild sacrifice in the grand scheme of things, but I know that is really important for him. Mm-hmm. So that's like a compromise that we make, and it doesn't even feel like a compromise because it's so important to him. Oh, camera. Sorry. So another thing, I love to work out in the morning, mm-hmm. and that's very important to me. And so I get up a little earlier so that I can get my workout in, and by the time that I come back, he's gotten Evie ready for school so that I can get dressed myself and then just get her off to the car so we can go. So it's earlier than he wants to get up, but so a mild sacrifice that he's got to make for me. Because one of the things that we're very keen on is that mental health aspect, and making sure that he's on the up and up, and he's what's, getting him on the right track, that I know it's good. Like, that's our mental break for each other. Mm-hmm. And if that can make you feel better within your day, I'm happy to do that. Well, but so there's just small compromises that, you make that he's allowed to do that are completely independent. And it could technically be a selfish thing that I'm forcing you to have to get up early to get our daughter dressed. Mm-hmm. You're forcing me to give up all of my Saturday mornings so that you can go to jiu-jitsu. But, like, I'm happy to do it. He's happy to do it.
You know what it is? And I think in talking with you, I've kind of thought in my mind that I don't know. Like, I like to analyze and look at things and get the best.
I do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think in my mind, it's still a question of if that sacrifice is worth the partnership. Because, and here's the reason why, is because, I do a very good job of making myself happy. I do a very good job of managing my own life. I do a very good job of bringing in income so I can feel supported. You know what I mean? And I know that there's some people that want a relationship because they want someone else to help them feel happy. I'm not saying that you do that, but I'm saying they feel better when there's someone else around, whether or not it's for their own gratification or their family is telling them to get married, or, they want someone else to help them pay bills, or they want someone else to, I think, which is why, an understanding that you have much more of a non-traditional thought of relationships and marriage, so because you don't expect Brian to provide for you. It's a partnership, and you kind of ebb and flow based within that non-rigid structure. So I think so for you it's a little bit different, but if you think about a man being a provider and then a woman being a nurturer, within that you're there's a reliance on each other. But I think what's different for you and Brian is that you are together out of the love, right? And kind of you both want to sacrifice for each other, irrespective of the roles, right? And you just do for each other, irrespective of that. But I think, which is why I think it'd be important for me to talk to Brian about this, is also I don't know if that's a better life.
And honestly, because so just as soon as you started talking, I realized my story only makes sense. The benefits of what I was speaking about only make sense if you're working under the assumption that, you do want to have kids with somebody and you do want to have this partnership. Because if I want to work out in the morning and I don't have a husband, I don't have a kid, then I can do whatever the fuck I want anyways. And I think that you have to decide what's important to you and what you want to do. If you find that person and they want to have kids, or you guys decide that however the structure is that you guys want to set up, and if there are compromises that you have to make within that, then those are conversations that you'll have to have. But if you just want to spend time making your own self happy, then there's no need to have any compromises with somebody else. But you did also say, now it's fine, but I don't want to do this forever.
Yeah, it wears itself out, and there's a lot of dudes who watch my channel who are in the stage of just, slaying the most amount that they possibly can, and I've been there, and I've slayed the most amount that I possibly can, and
Savage.
it was fun for the time, but now it just doesn't,
fulfill you in the same ways.
Nah, it just doesn't. It's not. We talk about on the channel too, the power of NoFap and semen retention, and I think that there's something to be said with a man who can discipline himself to not just give in to the Instagram photos that they see online, or the Twitter. It's porn on Twitter. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not on Twitter, but this is what my Twitter friends tell me. Right. But there's something within that where, you're not giving in to temptation, so you can give the most amount of time to maximize in kind of creating and building and whatever the things that you have to do. Because I know with that creating and building, also it gives me the best opportunity for at least the best looking woman.
Okay.
Shout out to Steph Curry. If you look at his DM list, I'm sure it's filled up with.
Yeah, but I'm sure.
You was with me up until that point.
Yes. You lost it.
Yeah, I lost it.
You lost it.
But anyway, to conclude, I think so I shared with you a reason why you have concluded that my thoughts are jaded. And knowing and understanding that it seems as though you think that it's a her, my reaction to that is I think it's a lot more people than what you give credit to. I think it's a lot more women than what you give credit to.
Well,
because I've seen some other bullshit in my life.
So that I'm not saying that it's. I just think that she did those fucked up things. Okay. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to do those fucked up things. I don't think that you should go into your life or relationships completely naive and say, you know, that thing that happened is a one-time incident and will never happen again. Mm-hmm. But you also can't go in on the other side of that and say she did those fucked up things and probably this next girl is going to do them too.
I feel you.
You know, there's got to be a way that you can just leverage this knowledge that you have and apply it if necessary. You know, like, don't go in with your nose all wide open, but, you know, like, assess the situation for what it is. Because as much as you talk about, like, fucked up relationships or whatnot, I'm happily married. Aaron and Will... Are we supposed to say other people?
Well, Wilbur's going to be coming on the show soon. I got to get Wilbur. I just saw him last night. Yeah. Aaron and Wilbur are happily married.
Kind of like the Waltons. I mean, like, you also have some
I got to get them up here, too.
Really good examples of what positive
you guys are also young. We'll see in a couple of years.
Damn it!
You guys are all young. I mean, let me keep it funky. None of you guys have reached the 10-year mark.
Goodness.
All right. I had Gamal up here. He's reached the 10-year mark.
See?
But I can name...
And that gaggle of kids that he has.
He does. He has an army. But I can name twice as many that have not made it last.
But I also think there is something with our generation that you go into these marriages with the assumption that if I don't like it, I can just leave. I don't have to stay for this. Which is a benefit and a curse. That you don't have to be in a relationship completely unhappy just because nobody gets divorced. I feel like my grandparents, for, you know, like, that was very much their generation. Like, we stay together, divorce just isn't an option. For our parents, it kind of like teetered. Like, our parents' generation kind of teetered. And then for us, it's like, it's Tuesday now and I don't want to do this anymore and I can just... And I think that that's part of the case of what, like, happened, you know, like, in cases in my family. That... You woke up and decided I don't want to do this anymore, and then you're not, and then that's how we can get to the 50%. If you didn't know why you wanted to be married to this particular person in the first place, it's very easy for you to just, never mind, I don't want to do it anymore. You got your big wedding, you got your Instagram stories and whatnot, and then you can call it a day very easily.
Big facts. What I also learned in the discussion, this is why I appreciate having a conversation with you, because if I'm learning, I'm happy. But what I also learned is that I need to also assess, like, my understanding of what sacrifice, if that's my decision, if I want to go through it in the forward, and if I find someone else, because she's probably not going to want to be dealing with no sacrifice, but if, like, I need to assess what level of sacrifice I can perhaps, because I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I don't like to be, and I'm an only child, I don't like to be unabated by anything or anybody.
Except when you find that unicorn.
Okay.
And it doesn't even feel like a sacrifice. It is just, this is what I'm doing because it makes her happy and I want to make her happy. Cool. And when that happens, I don't know what. You'll owe me $100.
Amber! Thank you so much for the discussion. I appreciate. I've been thinking about doing a video about that for a long time, so I appreciate you coming through and helping me talk through it, help me think through it.
Of course.
All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. You know, you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen, I'm hitting a button down here now. Like, comment, subscribe. Look at that. All right. Production value is stepping up. Show me some respect.
2020.
Hey. We in here. Amber, thank you again so much for coming through. We got to continue to have these conversations. I feel like there's a little bit of power in them. There's a bit of power in them. So I appreciate you. All right. Until next time, you two. Pardon me. good. Let me get a
Do
good
it.
angle.
Just do it.
Can't rush greatness, girl.